Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research and our own experiences towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I'm Dr. Maria Grajdian and I am a professor of media studies and anthropology at Hiroshima University. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of fulfillment, joy and contentment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges and insecurities of the real world. Today's video is part of a new series on life at 45. As I have entered the second half of my 45th year of my life, there are specific thoughts and emotions I have been experiencing recently. While these are insights coming from myself as a woman, mother and citizen, I deeply hope they might be helpful and useful for men as well. In today's video on Life at 45, I share my thoughts on what I wish I could tell my younger self in my childhood when I was both helpless and very, very lonely due to circumstances in my family of origin completely beyond my control. In doing so, I am making peace with my distant past and allowing my inner child to heal so that I can move forward in my life with serenity and dignity. And now, first things first, that is two important disclaimers. The first disclaimer serves to strongly emphasize the fact that this YouTube channel, the School of Love, is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. Together, we can build up a better tomorrow for as many of us as possible. The second disclaimer relates to the fact that I'm a trained musician and musicologist, not a psychologist, therapist, or counselor. The ideas I'm sharing in my videos reflect my deep-going preoccupation with life, my own life and other people's lives, and express the results of my experiences, research, and for better or for worse, my failures, as well as my recovery from those failures, recovery which is continuously ongoing. The ideas expressed in the videos on this channel, named the School of Love, cannot and may not and must not replace the consultation with specialists in whichever areas of your life you might have questions or you might struggle with. If you are new to the channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very, very much. This helps us not only with that mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. So, what would I tell my younger self from my childhood, that is until the end of 9 to 10 years old, from the perspective of being 45? So one of the first things I would tell is that everything will be all right. Just keep on moving and be strong. Become even stronger than you already are and have faith. Do not allow the circumstances around you to crush you and who you are. There are good people in the world. It is difficult right now to believe this because life is the way it is. And 1980s were in Romania a very difficult period of time due to communism and very dysfunctional social structures on one hand, people were trying to survive, and on the other hand, there was a general sense of uneasiness and lack of trust among the citizens. But things will be all right. Take care of your siblings, of your brother and of your sister, regardless of the fact that they're just younger and, well, even less experienced than you are. Do what you can and know that you are just enough the way you are. Do not allow those around you to instill in you a sense of fear and despair. Well, as much as you can, try to think of Star Wars and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and use them as inspiration of how to move forward in life, of how to live every single day. Sometimes when I look back at my younger self back then, I really wonder how she made it, how she managed to move forward without any sort of support. Even in school, the situation was so ideologized, and people were not allowed to say the truth, even children. Everybody was pretending to live a reality which was actually not there. And parents were very protective of their children because the situation was so entrenched, because the situation was so distrustful, because the situation could only create dysfunctional grown-ups. And the sense of fear from parents came over to us children. That sense of uneasiness with who they were, that sense of not being able to trust anyone, not even their own partners. That was really one of the most difficult things. And as children, we could sense that. As children, we could sense that we were not included in discussions among grown-ups. There was a wall, there were actually many walls around us as children, and we have learned very early on that there is no alternative to that. There was no hope. Nobody could imagine that things would change as they did in 1989, December 1989, when essentially Romania joined the world. So late 1980s, many former communist countries in Eastern Europe actually turned against their own regimes and joined the rest of the more or less civilized world in terms of democracy and capitalism. Of course, it did take many years to recover from the legacy of communism, which was really a disastrous one, and this is why I'm so much against it as a social order, as a political system, as an economic vision and reality. Communism is a disaster, and anyone who says otherwise either has not experienced communism or really was among those who actually profited from it by abusing and torturing the larger segments of the population. So another things I would tell my younger self from my childhood, from those horrible 1980s, is that you have to stay a good person. revenging and resenting the others is never a solution. It's also not about so much about hope, but rather about faith. Faith that at some point things will be all right eventually. They do, they always do. And history has a way of surprising people. Although they say in hindsight, history is always natural, history always makes sense. It is important, I think, for my generation of people, both Romanians and otherwise, to make peace with those 1980s so that we do not watch them as a nostalgic period of time in which things were not so bad. And anyway, they were probably better than now. So we have to make peace with the 1980s, which we experienced, and we remember them, even though we don't like it, on one hand, and on the other hand, so that we can get rid of the increasing bitterness, which really hinders us from moving forward. Some of them were less affected by that, maybe because their parents had better positions. Some of us were really crushed by the realities of the 1980s, and they were our formative years, the years where an entire internal universe, emotional and mental, is actually built up, and which will impact tremendously the future selves. Nevertheless, we must learn to forgive what happened back then, to forgive the society, if we can, to forgive our caregivers, and to find the strength to move forward, as I always say, in dignity and with serenity. So I hope this helps both those who have been through authoritarian regimes, which are never good, and those who have only read, if anything, about it, so that together we can avoid repeating history. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you here very soon again. Love and peace to you all.